Mike and I talked about his execution, what that would look like, what that would be like, and I told him I want to be there. I want my hand on the glass, telling him I'll
You're
meet
gonna
him
make
on
me
the other
cry.
side.
I did not know Joseph prior to his incarceration. We haven't even gotten technically married yet. We had 2 different wedding dates. The first one was canceled, and the second one then was canceled.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to our 6th episode of Love Within Walls, a Prison Wife podcast. I'm your friendly host here, Gigi, and I'm
Your
with...
friendly host, Paige. Hi, guys.
And hey, peep us out if you're on the YouTubes. We got our shirts. Yay!
We got shirts.
It's official now.
That's how you know.
We have
That's how you know.
t-shirts. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, welcome back to the pod. We want to thank you guys for answering our questions on Instagram and Facebook on our Facebook group, Love Within Walls. We asked for questions because we kind of wanted to do a different kind of pod today. We wanted to do more of a Q&A for you guys. So we are going to get into that in a little bit and answer all of your amazing questions. So thank you guys for sending us lots of good questions and for us to answer and talk about on the pod. And hey, if you have any comments or any feedback on any of these questions that you'd like us to share, please reach out to us at our email at prisonwifepod@gmail.com. I almost forgot it there. And a Prison Wife podcast on Instagram, Prison Wife Pod on TikTok, any of those, or if you want to join our Love Within Walls Facebook group, you can bring those answers anywhere in those places, and we will happily share that information with our viewers and listeners.
Yep.
So let's go ahead and dive into Love Within Walls, episode 6. Before we start our official start, sorry, I keep adding stuff in before we officially start. I do want to give a shout out again to our amazing sponsor, beyondbarsimaging.com. It is a website that you can go and order pictures of you and your loved one, or even your family. And Paige is amazing. It's Paige's LLC, and she is amazing and takes the pictures and makes them not look like they are prison visit pictures. She makes them look like real pictures at an event or outside or a wedding or anything. And also, she's incredible at merging or blending 2 pictures if you don't have a picture together. So please reach out to or check out beyondbarsimaging.com, or you can even check out some of her work, amazing work, on Beyond Bars Imaging on Instagram and TikTok. Right? Am I right there?
You are fully right. And it's so painfully obvious that I hate any kind of... I'm so bad at taking compliments, but thank you for all of your nice words.
Yeah, and y'all also share the pictures, and it helps get Paige some of that traffic, and it lets other people see her work and how incredible she really is. So share, like all of her stuff, and check out her website. It's new, it's up, and you can see some of her work and request your own picture from Paige. All right, so we're going to start off with a new segment that we're adding in because we want to kind of highlight some things that are happening at the state level, at the Fed level, in various states. And so we're coming up with this new "What up with that" legislation ? So what up with that? What up with that? And we are going to be kind of bringing to you the good, the bad, the ugly parts of the criminal justice legislation. I know Paige has something from out of California, and I have something coming out of Louisiana that we'd both like to share for our "What up with that" legislation. Go ahead, Paige.
Mine is kind of more so what up with that CDCR, because I have a few questions. One of the things Joseph and I had talked about recently is all of the overdoses happening at his prison. Don't get me wrong, unfortunately, that's a pretty common thing amongst all the CDCR prisons. Drugs are a huge problem. A lot of them are because of the staff that are the ones bringing them in, if we're going to be frank about it, because even during COVID, when visiting didn't happen.
Paige, Paige, come on. You know it's always
Yeah,
our
I'm sorry.
fault. Come on.
It's us.
Come on. You know, they search us beyond reason, but it's always
It's
our
our
fault.
fault for sure.
Sorry. Just
Yeah.
had to do that.
But even during COVID, when visiting stopped, the drugs didn't stop coming in. So how are you going to say it is if the families? You know what I mean? Long story short, there had been an overdose just the other day at Joe's prison on his yard, and he was telling me about it, and I was like, it's so crazy how often men overdose in there, and I was like, is there like are these being tracked anywhere, like by anyone? And B, like that should be public knowledge because it proves what's happening in there and what kind of real problems are in there. Um, so there's an email that you can reach out to for CDCR where you can basically send all general questions, and they'll respond to you. I think they have like 48 hours or more. Sometimes they'll be less than helpful. Usually that's what it is.
Yeah.
But they responded back to my question as, do you have like a chart of all of the overdoses? And what they sent back to me was the live link to the website of where they keep track of all of the incarcerated deaths while they are in their hands. And I'm like, you know, 1 plus 1 doesn't equal fish. So this isn't what I asked for. I
Yeah.
asked for a log of the overdoses. Overdosing and death is not, as we know, the same thing. There are many men in all of these prisons that are overdosing, and I would like to know the numbers because it's insane. And as of right now, what I've figured out, it's not being tracked anywhere, and I'm like, that's crazy. And what the fuck is up with that? And how is that not something that they have to keep track of? Like, I realize in
Yeah.
reality, they're not going to be able to get all of the overdoses because some might happen in cells and people get over it. But like every time that happens, like how is it not some kind of a process where they have to log it? And why is that not public knowledge?
Yeah. And I was gonna ask, I wonder, like sometimes I think they have it, they just don't want to share it.
Well, they should.
Like, yeah, I'm thinking like medical records and things like that, they have to keep track of that kind of
Mhm.
information. I would think. I would think. But maybe they just don't want to share it. I don't
I,
know. Are they being stingy with
I
it?
wouldn't be shocked if they just don't want to share it because, like, it's got to be terrible. Like, the drug problem in the prison Joe's at right now is the worst of any CDCR. Ugh, the worst of any
Mhm.
CDCR prison he's ever been to. And I'm sure it's only, as I hear across the other states, it's still a growing problem. And how can you act like you are trying to stop it when you're not? And you're not like actively putting stats and numbers out there. Like that's something we should have. And honestly, I would love to see some kind of foundation or, nonprofit put that in one of these bills, that the right to know.
Yeah. Yeah. And me thinking, I'm like, well, if they know where the drugs are really coming from,
Hmm.
would they want to put that
Oh
information out
no.
there? Let's,
Hmm. No.
just thinking that way. But if they're forced to by law, I mean, that would be something that's helpful for families, for, criminal justice reform groups, for wives,
Hmm.
everybody.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's something interesting to look into and push for. I know, down here, fentanyl is
Yeah.
it's a crisis down here, and I'm sure it's the same
Hmm.
there. So I know they're tracking. I know it's not public knowledge, obviously, but I have a feeling that the LADOC is tracking fentanyl overdoses to see how many men and women in prison in this state are actually ODing on that, because I think there was a big push last legislative session to make distributing fentanyl a life sentence in Louisiana. So I have a feeling they might be tracking in here. I don't know for sure, but I would think so because they're really cracking down, especially at Angola, on
They
fentanyl.
really want to send anyone
Um,
to prison for life for anything down there.
oh yeah, we hand out life sentences like like it's
Crazy.
candy down here. Yeah, yeah, 3 strikes, life sentence. Like you could steal 3 items out of a store 3 times, and then you get a life sentence.
That's
So
so
yeah,
messed up.
yeah. Well, in Louisiana, I'm going to move over to Louisiana here since we're talking about it, my wonderful state. Um, we are pushing in the legislative session I think it's April 7th or April 9th. I think one of those. I think it's April 7th. I wanted to put this out there for finally it's coming up as a bill to make it retroactive, the non-unanimous juries, the Jim Crow juries. The state a few years ago voted that non-unanimous juries are unconstitutional, and it's been ruled unconstitutional. However, you have thousands and thousands of men and women in this state who were found guilty by 10 people and 2 did not. Or, it could be a different
Mm.
number, 11 and 1, but the big one is 10-2. And they're trying to put up a bill saying that since non-unanimous juries are unconstitutional, that they should be sent retroactive. Well, of course, the conservatives in the
Yeah.
state think that that's not important. And, we have criminal justice reform groups really pushing to go to the Capitol steps and push for this bill to go through because the state has already decided, the voters have already decided on it. The Supreme Court has already decided it's unconstitutional. So it's time to make it retroactive. And obviously, conservative lawmakers are very much against that because their whole goal is to fill the prisons because it gets them kickbacks. I'm going
Yeah.
to say it. It gets them money. It's free labor and it gets them money. It lines
Gotta
their
have the
pockets.
prison
The
stack.
prison, they have their yeah, they have their hands in
Hmm.
prison industries. I mean, no doubt in my mind because of all the stuff that's been sweeping through so fast in Louisiana. There's no doubt in my mind that there's some dirty, shady stuff. Shit. I'm going to say it because I'm pissed. There's some dirty, shady shit happening. And everybody knows Louisiana's super corrupt. I mean, we're one of the most corrupt states in the United States. People don't want to deal with us. There are legislators because they're corrupt. So I'm just going to sorry for my soapbox, but that's what's happening. And I encourage all of you in Louisiana to stand behind this bill that's being put forth on April 7th. And if you can make it to the state steps to rally with, I think the group is Vote is rallying, Voice of the Experienced here in Louisiana. It's a nonprofit that deals with criminal justice reform and outreach for those that are post incarceration. I recommend you go out there and help us push this bill to be retroactive because it is unconstitutional and there's no reason why men and women should sit behind bars when the law has deemed it
Yep.
unconstitutional.
I I'm glad that you brought attention to that. And I think a lot of people don't understand how many of these bills that are rolled out that are amazing aren't retroactive and aren't, everyone decides that they're unjust and they're not okay, but what about all of the men that are sitting behind bars that have the same charge? Just because it happened years before, it's invalid. You know what I mean? It's crazy. So I'm glad
Yeah.
that they're doing something to help bring positive change.
Yeah. And I'm just thinking, if you have a jury of your peers of 12 people and 9 say guilty and 3 say innocent, that's a
Yep.
hung jury. That should not give
No.
someone a life sentence. So that's why I think people don't realize what
Hmm.
that means because it is only in 2 states. It's only here and in Oregon. And Oregon did make it retroactive. So we're the only state that's not made it, still has it, and still has not made it retroactive. So,
My heart hurts for you and
just wanted to add
everyone
that.
who has a loved one in Louisiana, because holy hell.
Eh, Yeah, and for some people, this is their only hope. Like this is their last chance. One of my good
Mhm.
friends, who's a Real Housewife of Angola with me, she is like, this is his only chance. Like we had everything. They turned everything down on him. Like they had, they went to court. They had witnesses change their statements, and they still won't let them go. Like they turned down everything. They ruled everything down, and then this is their only shot to have a chance at possibly getting out. So hope you guys can, if you're in Louisiana, please come rally with us, because this is a huge move, especially with the governor we have now, because we know he loves putting people in prison.
He's an
Anyway,
asshole. So,
that's my 2 cents. Yeah, he is. Anyway. All right, so let's go ahead and dive into our
yay.
Q&A.
Yeah,
Are you
I'm ready.
ready? Nice and soft. All right, did you want to start, Paige, with your Facebook
Yeah, let me
questions?
do that. Okay,
Mhm.
so our first question comes from the Love Within Walls Facebook group that we have from Anglesey. She says, "Y'all have a special perspective and LWAP death penalty as LWAP death penalty wives. Mine is JLWAP. I want to know, when you first began your relationship, how did you wrap your mind around the time and decide to be all in your relationship?" Um, I mean, I can say when I first wrote to Joe, like I said, I had no intention of having a relationship, and I think his sentence was part of the thing I thought would deter me. You know what I mean? I'm like, "Oh, I won't get invested.
Yeah.
He has a life."
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's no
Like
chance,
my
right?
brain wouldn't let me
Mhm.
do that. Mhm.
Yeah, I feel you. I feel this. I'm the same way. I almost like didn't even think about it
I
at
know.
first, to be
I know.
honest.
It's like it wasn't even a factor. Mhm.
Yeah. And I will say this, it took me a long while, and I still haven't fully accepted it. I mean,
Yeah.
we talked about this last week. I
Mhm.
really haven't. I think about it, but I don't want to
Yep.
fully accept it. Um, Mike and I talked about his execution, what that would look like, what that would
Mm.
be like, and I told him I want to be there. I want my hand on the glass, telling him I'll
You're
meet
gonna
him on
make
the
me
other
cry.
side. Like we okay, I'm sorry. I won't. But we've gone through it, so I know that it's there. It's like the elephant in the room. I just feel like if I say, well, he's going to be executed, I feel like I'm
Yeah,
giving up.
fully.
So I don't
He
I
never
don't
will.
accept
Remember
it.
I
And
said that to you and I'm like, I swear he won't, and you're never gonna like, don't even say that. It just isn't going to happen.
yeah. Yeah.
Mm-mm.
I don't think it will. I think he has some things working for him. And we'll talk about that on another pod, because I can go on about that for days. There's a lot of injustice with his sentence, that I want to hit on and talk about, because I'm sure his lawyer told me there are millions of other people, not millions, but thousands of other people that are in the same
Mhm.
situation where, you know, two different people are charged with the same crime but did not get the
Yeah.
same sentence. Um, so I try not to think about his sentence. It does happen to me, and I will say this, the time that we talked about last week that I was grieving is when I really did
Mhm.
think about it. I really did think about it almost every day. I thought about it, and it killed my soul. It made me go into a dark, deep place that I don't want to ever go again. Um, but I have been better with adapting. I know we've been talking about adapting to things and getting used to things. I had a really bad year last year with his clemency, and we can always talk about that too, another pod. But um, I think after coming out of it, like coming out of all of the spiraling that I did last year with his clemency being denied outright, um, I finally have kind of somewhat accepted the situation. And all I can hope for at this point is that he makes it through this governor's term. For right now, it's 1 term, but it could be 2 terms. So for the next 8 years, I've accepted that we're going to be doing this for 8 years, and hopefully make it through. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, I mean, mine's a little bit different only because it's obviously it's life without parole, but it's not that I haven't accepted it. It's just when I talk about the future with Joe, I don't see him being incarcerated. And the way that we talk every day, we talk about, oh, like if I'm like I was just talking to him about Vegas, and I was like, I want to go to Vegas, and he was like, when I get out, we have to go there and do those things, and like he's serious as a heart attack when he says it to me, and I'm just as serious when I'm like, oh yeah, we do, like we need to, and even if we are like old people one day, if I get to do those things and experience them with him, I think that I'll be happy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I I have accepted it, but I will never stop fighting against it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. And, it's important for them to still have
Mhm.
that hope, because that is such a driving force for them to continue doing well, to be a better person, to get into programs, to get into educational programs. So I think it's good for them to think that,
Mhm.
to not accept it.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? But for us, we live out here in the real world and we're constantly being told they're never coming home. They're never coming home. They're never coming home. I mean, I can't even tell you how many people have
Mhm.
told me that. Um, it hits me, and I'm better at, going, okay,
Mhm.
that's your thoughts. Okay. Like I've gotten to that point, but it used to kill me. It used to literally tear me apart, and I would just sit down and cry, and I'd be like, so and so told me that you're never coming home. I would do the whole thing, and but now it's like, no, I refuse to just sit here and take that and think that. You
Yeah.
can think that all
And
you want,
honestly, I
but
feel like someone
I
saying that to
refuse.
you is almost them just trying to trigger a reaction out of you, and you not giving them that reaction, being like, "Okay, if that's what you think." Like that's the best thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes I go, yeah, you're right. Like, I mean, at this point, I can't say you're wrong. I mean, with what's happening in our state and the fact that he can't even get a chance. So yeah, I mean, sometimes I respond differently, but I've accepted it, but I
Mhm.
haven't fully
Mhm.
accepted it. I refuse to. And I think when you do is when that hope kind of goes out the
Yeah,
window.
I feel like if you ever accept that, it's bad. Like it's bad news. Like you're like, you know what I mean? But
Hmm.
I go to the next one because we still have two
Yeah.
more Facebook ones.
Okay.
The next Facebook question we got was from Stacy. She said, "Many of us are what you might called married single moms." Retweet. Meaning that we have partners but are raising children on our own. In my case, without any financial support, since it's their dad who is incarcerated. I'd love some love for the married single moms. So I'm gonna give a bunch of shout outs
Ooh,
to
a
yeah,
shout
huge
out.
shout outs to all of the single moms, single dads out there that are married and doing the single parent thing because you have no other option. It is not easy. It is hard, and there are days when resentment, like we talked about, builds a lot because of that. You know, Joe is not Brody's
Yeah.
biological dad, but in all senses, he is his father figure and has been in his life since before he even turned 2. So, like
Oh, wow.
I don't have that feeling towards him, but I could see how one day if we ever had a child together, I could feel that way because he's not here
Hmm.
and I'm out here taking care of our child. And as we all know, anyone who's raised a child, been around raising a child, it's not easy and it is hard and it is tiring. And being able to switch off with someone and take time off from that is amazing. And I feel like a lot of times the women who do that don't get enough credit for it. So sending so much love
Yeah.
and so much support to all of you who do it because I am the mother of one 5-year-old and even just that is tiring. So I can't imagine multiple. I don't know.
Mm. Yeah, major shout out to the single mom and dads doing the dang thing every day, all day. And I'll say this, like, I don't even, just to parents, I mean, in general, I work with children all day, but I get to
Mhm.
leave and come home and
Mhm.
decompress. And so I'm just thinking, for someone that's a single parent, you have support when you get home. You're not alone when you get home, helping with the after school activities and, going here, going there, getting dinner, all that. You have help. And being a single parent, that's all on one person. And I can only imagine how draining and exhausting and amazing of a person you are for doing that. I mean, I know how draining and exhausting it can be, just working 7.5 hours with children all day. I can't imagine doing work all day and then coming home and having to care by yourself for a little one or
Mhm.
multiple little ones. So,
It's
major shout out
yeah,
to.
it's hard. And just to touch on the second part of her question or her statement about the financial support, it's hard to take, taking care of a kid, paying for a kid is never ending. And having a loved one in there that
Yeah.
also needs your help with pay sometimes, like that's eating out of your pocket. And there aren't any government programs or anything that are like, here, you're out here as a single parent because of incarceration. No, I mean, if anything, you're looked down on because you're like, oh yeah, your man's in
Yeah.
prison. Ugh, like of like if anything, you lose any empathy from people, which is ridiculous
Yeah.
because they don't even know what the situation is. You know what I mean? It can happen to anyone, and I think they don't get enough grace for managing and wearing all of the hats and doing everything. And women are resilient and can do anything. Hmm.
We tough, we
We can do it.
strong for sure. Yeah. And so, big shout out to single parents out there dealing with incarceration on top of it, dealing with society's
The stigma.
backlash on top of it, stigma, handling it with grace, and just doing the damn thing day in
We see
and
you.
day out.
Hmm.
Kudos. Yeah. And even as somebody that doesn't have children, I see you. Because, like I said, I work with children 7.5 to 8 hours a day, and then I get a break when I get home. And boy, do I need it. So I can't imagine, someone doing that and then having to deal with their own child, when they get home by themselves and have no financial support and have no partner support as well.
Mm-mm. I can't imagine working
Major
with
shout
kids,
out.
but we won't go there.
I'm giving y'all hugs and kisses because we appreciate you guys.
This one
Okay.
comes from Heidi. She said, how do you both stay positive and not get jaded or jealous when you see people with their loved ones coming home? I smile because Gigi and I talk about this a lot. Um, when you see, I find myself unable to be happy for others, and that's not how I want to be. Damn, Heidi. Yeah.
Boo, that's how you gonna be. That's how you gonna be. I'm sorry.
Um,
I mean, I can't
yeah.
help it. I'm the worst with this because I'm
Mhm.
already a jealous person.
Mhm.
Especially when it comes to Michael. And when you see all of these couples getting these chances, getting these opportunities, getting granted clemency, getting granted parole, like getting out dates, and getting their cases reversed, and you're like,
Mhm. What am I doing
what the
wrong?
fuck? Sorry, I'm sorry. I mean, I know I'm cussing, but
Mhm.
what the fuck?
Mhm.
What about us? Why can't
Mhm.
that happen to us? And I am, I will say this, I am super happy for any couple that beats incarceration and gets a chance to get out. I am so happy for them when they come home. I love seeing
Yeah.
homecoming. I mean, I
Homecoming
cry.
videos,
I cry
fucking
when I
love
see it
them.
because I love them, but it also stings, because I
Mhm.
know I'm never going to get that, possibly, and um, I get, I'll be honest, I try to handle stuff with grace and dignity and be happy, like, well, I'm happy for them. I'm happy for them. But fuck. when is it going to
Yeah,
happen to me? Like, why
it's
can't this
hard.
shit happen to me? Um, so I take it. I try not to take it personally, but I do. And I think it's just a normal human reaction to be jealous that things are happening for other people and not for you. Even though deep down in my heart, I am so happy for these couples that finally get. I mean, there was one MWI couple who was a Real Housewife of Angola, and her husband, or now a husband, back then it was fiance, had JLWOP, and he got parole. And I was so happy for them because I knew them from visiting. I knew them from the Real Housewives of Angola group. And I met him at the rodeo at Angola, not this past October, but in 2022. And I told him, like, I'm wishing you the best. Like, I got to meet him, shake his hand, and I'm just so happy for them. But I'm also like, watching her run up to the front gate, I'm like,
Hmm.
I'm just like, why can't, and then another one just got clemency and parole, and he had a life sentence, and I'm just like,
It happens all the time in
why
CDCR.
can't.
I see it all the time. Like Gigi said, I'm also very happy for these people, especially the women that I meet and become friends with. I can't tell you, there's nothing more than I love to be able to see it. Literally, one of the girls I follow on TikTok, her boyfriend just came home, and like just watching the TikToks and videos they're making together and seeing their smiles, I literally can't even imagine what that would feel like. My brain can't even compute it. Like I can't. And
Mhm,
I'm not jealous of her per se, but the whole aspect I'm definitely jealous of, just because I know, I believe in my brain and my heart that one day Joe will be free again. But
mhm,
it just stinks when I see other people that, are kind of on the prison carousel per se. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
I know of men and many women that have told me that their men are using and stuff, and they have out dates, and they get out and they're not even ready to be out because they're not rehabilitated. They were doing, they were doing drugs, or they were involved in gang activity, or they were doing something else the whole time that they were incarcerated, not even attending, programming. So knowing
mhm,
that those are the people that more times than most are the ones getting the second chances, and not the men that have served these long-term deals and are attending are attending, programming, and they are becoming rehabilitated,
mhm,
aren't getting the second chance. That
yeah,
also just like grinds my gears, you know what I mean? I always fight for Joe's second chance, and there's nothing that's more frustrating than thinking about him never getting that, maybe, you know?
yeah. Oh, yeah. And, um, I am very happy when someone gets a chance at the pardon board or the parole board here. And however, I am not happy about Michael's fall partner, who did not get the death penalty, but is convicted of the same exact crime, is going up for the pardon board this year and may get it.
The same
And
crime.
may get it. So his life sentence can be commuted. Then
Do
he
they
will
have
be eligible for
all the
parole.
same,
While my
like, they were charged with the same things?
charged with the same exact crime. Yeah. So I will not be happy for that person, just saying, because he's getting a chance. He's actually at the governor's mansion right now, living the best prisoner life possible as a trustee. And he has had lots of opportunities to make himself better, whereas Michael has not. I mean, it's limited for him
I
because of
don't
where
I
he
don't know how much
is.
you maybe want to go
Um,
into this, but no, I have a
Sorry,
question. I'm
you're
like,
right.
what why was he do you have any idea, like, what led it so that he didn't get the death penalty and Michael did? Like, I guess I'm like, where's the disconnect?
Disconnect is Michael was charged when Michael went
Okay.
to trial first, and he had a
Yep.
public defender. Whereas the second person, Michael's fall partner, went second and had his
Because
family
they had
hired a
money.
private attorney.
Okay. No, that explains it.
Correct.
Thank you.
Michael's family
Hmm.
was very poor. And so they couldn't afford an attorney. So he relied on a public defender who was working basically with the DA at the time and got the books thrown at him, even though they could have done second degree, you know, but they didn't. So anyway,
Yeah.
I don't know
Well,
how much of that we want to put in, but I'll just say this. Let me just say this. That's one person I'm not going to be happy for.
justifiably.
That's one person. Yeah. But I am happy for those couples that get it. I am, but I think it's only natural. And then people, tell you, well, your time will come. I'm like,
Yeah. And I'm
but
like,
when?
do you also have the
Yeah.
magic ball that tells you when that is?
Yeah. And then it says
Yeah.
like
Try
not
again
yet on the
later.
magic 8 ball. Try again.
Cannot see. Isn't that one of them? I'm like, got
Yes.
it. But those are all the Facebook ones. Those are all the Facebook questions.
All right. Well, I am going to handle the ones we posted on Instagram. So, if you don't know, usually one time during the week, I think it's
Hmm.
what, usually on Fridays, we post a story asking you if you have any questions for us about prison wife life in general or any type of question that you want us to answer. And so here are some of our questions that we had on the Insta story that we posted yesterday. All right. So it's the first question is from looks like Jay Lynn. Did you get married while he was in prison or before? Looking to marry the love of my life while he's in prison.
Well, congrats. Yeah.
Paige, you want to start that one?
Well, the I did not know Joseph prior to his incarceration. So we technically, and we haven't even gotten technically married yet. We were supposed to get married. I think I told a short version of this on the pod earlier. We had two different wedding dates. The first one was canceled, and the second one then was canceled because they decided he was moving to a new prison and it couldn't wait. So we were like, we want our family visits, we want them now. So we got a domestic partnership. So, even in the eyes of California, that's still looked at as a legal bond and we are conjoined. So technically, the answer to that for me is in prison. We will get actually married eventually. The whole idea of like anyone even like looking at me when we do something like that makes me want to like cringe the whole way up. People always say like, you really want to get married in a prison. And I'm like, if I could go to like the courthouse and actually have no one look at me, that would be how I want to get married. I don't know how brides walk down the aisle because like I think I'd have a full on panic attack. Like that's just not me.
Yeah. I will say this. I hyperventilated before I
Oh,
walked down
hell
the
no.
40-foot aisle
Hell no.
of my wedding.
Mm-mm.
Um, way back in the day. I'm basically hyperventilated the whole time. It is a lot. So yeah, I get you. I would probably want to do a destination wedding or
Yeah,
just go to
all
the
I
justice
need
of the
is that
peace
paper
and get it
signed. I
done.
don't really care.
Hmm. So y'all are planning eventually to get
So,
married in the
right
prison.
now, not sure if he's going to stay at this prison another full year or not. I'm not the biggest fan of it, and I don't really know what the marriage process is. Some of them allow you to have like bigger and nicer ceremonies than others. Um, so I
Hmm.
kind of am interested in hearing how this prison does it, and then depending on what that's like, we are either going to get married there or get married wherever he goes next, which will hopefully be in a year. But until then, we're at least legally bound. So he knows I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah. And I'm just going to ask this because you had mentioned that he's
Mhm.
moving in about a year. They typically move them around
Yeah,
like that
like
in
livestock. I
CDCR
literally, I
or
literally say it like that because
okay.
that's what it feels like sometimes. I mean,
Okay.
I've been with Joseph for 3 years and he's been to three prisons. Like it's fucking crazy.
Wow.
They have different reasons for different things. Apparently, once you get to a certain prison, and if you want to be there for a long time, sometimes you can.
Hmm.
Right now, because of the program Joe's in, he has to be at the one he's at, and then he can move, but it has to be to a prison that has that program. So there's different. constraints for everything. But yeah, like livestock is what I say.
Okay. I didn't know that because they move stuff people around here every once in a while, but typically it's not like as as much
It's a
as
lot to uproot
CDCR, it
it,
sounds like,
and but
because
they do that all the time.
yeah.
Oh my gosh, look, Birdie's spider toy. How has that just been there the whole time?
It's been Spidey's been
Brady
hanging
and
out
this
with us on this
giant
pod the
spider.
whole time.
It's remote control. It moves. Yeah,
Oh, stop.
I
That
know.
would be
Don't even
creepy if it
say
just
that
started
because now I'm
moving
gonna.
out of nowhere.
Okay.
Okay, sorry. All right. So about me, so fun fact, I am not legally married to Michael. I've shared our commitment. We've had a commitment ceremony um at at the facility, and it was just basically us writing our vows, saying our vows, and exchanging
Mm-hmm.
rings, doing it ourselves. It wasn't anything formal or anything like that, but we obviously dedicated ourselves to each other and committed ourselves in this life to each other. And we talk about possibly getting married at the prison. I was hoping that he would get clemency and get in population, because the weddings in population
Yeah.
are, they get a lot more, like they get a lot more privileges, and the weddings are just better. You get to get married in the actual church. You get to have family and friends come. You get to have
Wow.
cake. It's an all day affair. Whereas in death row, it's only like 2 hours and
That's
you
what
have
all
to
the CDCR
leave,
weddings are
and
like.
it's,
Yeah.
oh, really? Oh, well, in
Mm-hmm.
population, it just seems they get a lot more. So I have said, well, if you get in population, I'm definitely marrying you. I just don't want to, even though I know everybody back there at death row, and it would be more, um, I have rapport with the people that work back there. They know me. And so I know it wouldn't be ugly or anything. It wouldn't be terrible or anything. And they would try to make it as nice as possible, I'm sure, because they're good people back there. But I haven't jumped on it. We had our commitment ceremony in 2019. So it's been what, 5 years at this point that we have not done anything with that. Michael said, I'll marry you anywhere. It doesn't matter. And yes, it shouldn't matter to me either.
There's nothing wrong with
Um,
you wanting a little
Also,
bit nicer of a wedding in prison. You know what I mean? Like that's not don't
yeah, but I don't want to be, but
you're
it
not
sounds like
though.
I'm being
You
picky
guys
about
know
it.
what
You know
your
what I'm
bond
saying?
is. You know what I
Okay.
mean? No one else does.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's our fun fact. We're not legally bound, but we are committed. We did have a commitment thing that we did with each other. So, and if you need to see my picture, it's up on my Instagram, boo. So, anyway. All right, the next question and oh, congratulations to Jalen. I hope that you get
Yes,
to
do
marry
it.
the love of your
Do it,
life,
girl.
and that y'all have an amazing ceremony. And hey, let us know. Let us know if you decide to do it, what it's like, the
I love
experience,
to
what
hear about
state, or what,
how the other, like
if you're in
especially other
feds.
states and stuff. I
Yeah.
love to hear how they do it because honestly, I feel like the more
Hmm.
we hear about like how other states do it, like even just Louisiana, like I'm like, "Hey, California, are you listening?" Like
Hmm.
making an event that's supposed to be a
Hmm.
happy day, a happy event.
Yeah.
Just an idea.
All right. And our next question from Carly on Instagram,
Mhm.
one of our amazing admins
Yeah.
I'm giving her a shout out, one of our amazing admins on our Love Within Walls Facebook group. The question is, how do you handle who takes issue with your husband's crime? Paige, I know you've dealt with a
I have.
lot of stuff with that. How do you handle people that have a problem with your loved one's sentence or
Um
crime?
I think what I've grown to do is pretty much the way that I have my own feelings about it. I
Hmm.
fully understand that other people do too. And there are going to be some people who just never understand, and I get that. And I have kind of gotten over the hump of trying to convince every single person that, he's more than his crime, but some people just don't want to look past it, or some people have had personal experiences similar to Joseph's crime, and those are people that I'm not going to ever try to um, see my side, or there's the victims of his crime and their family, and I never want to try to minimize what they went through, and either does he, because he, you know what I mean, he has
Mhm.
fully accepted what he's done. And I think one of the things that I just remind myself, and I have my friends even remind me, is that I know Joseph and I know the person that he is. And, yes, he might have done something that was horrible. Um, 14 years ago now, 15, I don't know. He is not that person. And I know that. And I'm doing what I can to advocate for him. If someone that I'm friends with has an issue with his crime, okay, so be it. Then we probably aren't going to work out as friends. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of like, I'm very sorry if like or personally something affected you. I think I might have shared either on here or on Christina's podcast. Um, that I have lost friends that once telling them about Joe's crime, just because they're like, how could you ever love someone who could end someone's life? And, okay, well, let me explain and let me tell you about him and let me go into detail. Oh, I don't want to hear about it. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they stop you right before you
Yes.
can really they don't wanna understand.
Hmm.
They just wanna see the crime
Yep.
and
As soon
that their
as as soon
judgment
as
is
they
already
know
there.
anything about it,
Yeah.
or believe all the stories that are written, you know what I mean? I If anything, I learned how I hate saying fake news because I don't even want to get into politics, but so much of the news even out there is fake. And it's like, I remember telling Joseph about articles I read about him, and the comments that people would make, and he's like, that's not even like, so many of those things aren't even what happened. Like, they turn the narrative into whatever will get people to click on it. Yes.
Yeah, it's sensationalizing it to get
Mhm.
clicks, views,
Yeah.
whatever you wanna call
So
it. Yeah, yeah. The same thing happened with Michael's case. I mean, they put stuff in print because back then it was print. It wasn't even that it was just before, the
so is
explosion of
Joe's, kind
social
of, a
media
little bit.
and, so, everything was in the newspaper on the news itself. And so some of the
Mhm.
stuff they put in print was not even true about Michael's case. And some of the stuff that even came out last year in print or online with his clemency, the information was totally inaccurate. And they made it sound like this crazy thing that didn't even happen. So just know that people reading the internet are not getting the full truth, because if they really wanted the full truth,
Mhm.
they'd look at the court documents or they'd look at, public record stuff. Because the stuff in print is highly sensationalized to get
Yep.
viewers, clicks, likes,
It's
whatever you want to
unfortunate,
call it.
but it's the truth.
So, yeah. And, I luckily don't have to deal with much of this other than my parents. And I told that story already, but I don't kind of still somewhat in the closet. People tell me, well, how does it feel to love somebody that's a murderer? And people even Michael's best friends call him a murderer. Like,
Why?
so I just they have a hang up on it. I don't know. They're angry, they're hurt by
What the
Michael's actions,
fuck?
and this is their way of, yeah. So, I don't know. I just think um like you said, I mean, the people that have the judgment really have no basis for it
Mhm.
because it's not accurate judgment anyway. Because they're looking at something like this when
And they're
there's a
not interested
whole lot,
in that
like
whole lot.
there's so much behind
Mhm.
it, and they're not interested in it. Yeah, they're just like brushing. Oh, I don't want to. He did.
Mhm.
He did his crime. He needs
You
to do
don't
his
do the
time.
crime if you can't do the time.
Whatever.
Shut up.
And
If I hear that one more time, shut up. I can't.
people don't realize. I know, and people don't realize all of the situational shit that goes, like, that happens. That could lead somebody into a crime. I mean, it's not just they make a decision and do it. It could be the fact that they are severely in the lowest socioeconomic status. It could be a million of different things that lead somebody into this. So to just look at the crime and say
Mm-hmm.
that person's a piece of trash, or, you know, you don't even you don't even understand, like, until you're in this situation. And I'll say this because I was one of those people. You never know what took place leading into this that made them make the wrong decision. People make mistakes all the time, and there are a million factors that go into that. The same
There
happens here.
I wanted to
um
add to that just
so
because Joe and I were literally talking about this morning. The I'm going to say it wrong. It's the criminogenics behind crimes, and people don't ever take those into consideration.
mhm,
And basically, it's the conditions or the likely to produce the conditions and things that you are grown up and raised around that are likely to produce criminal behavior. So, if you grow up
yep,
a more poor area, or if you grow up around gang violence and stuff, you're going to be more likely to do that because that's the rite of passage, that's what you're surrounded by, that's what is normal to you. So you have no idea what these people went through
yeah,
prior to their incarceration. You know what I mean? You can say, oh, shouldn't have done it, but you have no idea what they, you just, if you really want to get on someone, look up everything about the case and not just the stories. You know what I mean? Like, and then also think about it,
yeah,
because what are you trying to do? They're already in prison. Who are you taking them back to court? You know what I mean? Like, what is it that some people when they
yeah.
yes,
Are
exactly.
you
Like,
the
just
judge, jury, and
calm down.
trial over here? Like, yeah. Yeah.
You're done.
You're done. You're
You're
done.
done. Period.
Yeah, so those were all of our
Loved it.
questions on the Insta. So the next thing we have, obviously, is a shout out. And I know we already gave a shout out to single moms and dads out there, but Paige, do
I
you have
do.
another shout out you want to give? Shout out,
I have to
shout
give a shout out
out.
to Miss Allison. Allison Villegas. I'm so sorry if I said that wrong. Joseph always, yeah, Villegas. Villegas. I'm so
Villegas,
listen. Joseph
Villegas.
always like. I'm the one that reads Jesus as Jesus. Like, I'm not good at this. So if anything, my husband's half Mexican too, so it's like I got to get back on it. I was taking Duolingo. Anyways, I'm ranting now. Allison, I love you. And that is why you are the shout out. Allison is the reason that I got involved in advocacy on Twitter 3 years ago. I found her while I was on Twitter, and just seeing her relentless tweets and advocacy for her son and everyone else that was incarcerated, it was such like an inspiration. Like, she would be constantly tearing out these tweets that would be like ripping CDCR apart and like reaching out to them for issues. Like, if I ever had an issue with somewhere Joe was, I reached out to Allison and she goes, "All right, I'm reaching out to my contact." And like, she would get me answers. And she's just one of the best people ever. And the best part of this news with her shout out is that her son, who was incarcerated for many, many years, is now home. So Andrew is home and she has him home. And, that's even crazy to think about. And, when I found out about that the other day, I thought I was going to do cartwheels around my house. And there's an example of me not being upset about homecoming. But love her and
There
love
you
everything
go.
she does. And
But
she definitely was my role model to start using my voice. So I appreciate her.
awesome. It's good to have somebody like that to push you and to be a resource for you and a support system. And especially if you're new to this and you have no clue how to navigate, it's good to have that guide. That's
Hmm.
someone that's so experienced in it. So shout out to Allison
Yes,
and
yes.
welcome home. Is it Andrew
Welcome
you
home,
said?
Andrew.
Welcome home, Andrew. Congratulations. Yeah, I'm also not jealous here. All right, y'all. Well, the last thing, but certainly never the least, is it's that
Meme
meme,
of the
y'all.
week.
That meme of the week. Meme of the week. All right, guys. So, our meme of the week is the amazing, the incredible. This was, oh, let me give shout clout. Shout clout to
Oh.
Love Within Walls, who made this amazing tweet. It is none other than Queen Cardi B sitting in a chair. And close your eyes. If you're listening on audio, close your eyes. All right. The tagline is me waiting for Karen's automated ass to shut the fuck up so I can talk to my man. And it's a picture of Cardi
No, if you
B.
put it up
Wait,
and then let it
gotta pull it back,
focus.
right? Oh, okay. There we go. There she is, Queen
There we go.
Cardi. Shut the fuck up so I can talk to my man. This bitch here. Karen on the automated. I call her Securus Sue, by the way. So for those of y'all that use Securus, that bitch Sue talk too much. She do too much. Just saying. And then she comes in the middle of our call. Does that
Your
happen to y'all where they interrupt your call in the middle of the call and say, "This is a call from
Ours
an
is she
incarcerated
does it when
individual"?
you start the call. Throughout the call, she'll be like, "This call is monitored and recorded." Like I think she does that 3 times. And
Okay.
then she's like 60 seconds remaining. And I'm like, "I fucking got it." I swear. She makes me so mad. I hate when I swear every time that we're on the phone, I'll be like Joe and I'll be like reading a book and he'll be like, "You read," and I don't like reading, but then I'll read it and then I'm reading and then that'll pop on right when I'm reading and I'm like,
She
just shut up.
interrupts your ass.
I get it. I didn't forget.
I know. We all hate the 1 minute lady. We also all hate the Karen at the beginning of the call and in the
We're
middle of the
different.
call. So
They're
we're with
different.
you. Hmm?
Are
What do you mean?
do you have a different lady that says something at the beginning and the middle?
She says, "This is a call from," and then it says his name, and then it says, um, to press 1 to accept this call, press 1. To deny this call, press 2. And then she'll come in every 7 minutes and say, "This is a call from an
Like we forgot.
incarcerated individual," like in the middle of it. I know.
Oh my
Thanks for
god.
reminding
Anything to take
me.
time away from us, I swear.
I know. And if you think about a 30-minute call and they do that every 7 minutes, I mean, that's what, 30 seconds? So that's like 2 minutes or
That's
three
nice though that
minutes
you guys
taken
your
off my
calls
time.
are 30 minutes.
Mm-mm.
That's cool.
Nay, nay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're
love
blessed with
that.
that. So love the calls.
Hate
Hate the
her.
chick on
They've
the
just
other
changed
end of the
ours too.
line.
That
Just
she now
saying.
says they have someone else that chimes in that says incarcerated individual. They have like one. They're like it's like a one voice, and then they have that cut in. And I'm like, why didn't you just re-record the whole fucking thing? Like,
Oh, they changed
yes,
the
they
wording to
did.
make it more PC
An
because it
inmate
probably
that
said
is what it said, but
inmate.
you know, maybe I say start with the guards and other
Hmm.
things in there because literally why did a guard tell Joseph yesterday that it was time for the inmates feeding like
Wow.
like animals.
Like they're, yeah. That's because sometimes that's how they see them. They see them as locked up,
That's
caged
really sad because
animals,
I don't know how
sadly.
Louisiana system is, but the same people who are COs at the California prisons are also the counselors. So
So they work with
you,
them and then
I
they
don't
still
even think
talk
you
down
can.
to them like that.
Someone correct me if I'm wrong. I don't even think you can like work your way up to be like an AW or a warden or anything unless you go through all the stages of being counsel, like being a CC1, CC2, CC3. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not good at that stuff, but I feel like they're one of the only states that does it like that because I was talking to someone else who has a loved one in Florida and they were like counselors and COs are completely
Hmm.
separate and I'm like no, not as they should
Yeah,
be and I'm
ours
like
are
that's
too.
weird.
Hmm.
Comment below and tell me
Yeah.
what your counselors.
But they do have a ladder to work up to be a warden, obviously. And you can't be a warden until you've done all these things. But typically, the social workers and the counselors, and the teachers, and the teachers of educational programs, they're considered, I guess, COs, but they're really not like walking the blocks and work in the
Hmm.
dorms. They're in classes all day teaching, or they're with people in the medical unit, helping them if they have mental health problems, that kind of thing. So, when they teach, a lot of them, the ones that are social workers also teach some of the classes. So, especially like, was it Living in Balance, which is like a, drug recovery, alcohol recovery program. So a lot of them do teach, the social workers and counselors teach those classes too. So, but it's not like the people walk in the yard, or walk in the block, around the fence, or COs that work with the incarcerated individuals are not the ones
Hmm.
doing the
It's
classes for the
interesting.
most part.
I'd love to know about how the other ones are. So comment down below and tell me.
Yeah, like other states. Yeah. And hey, if you have any more questions for us, shoot them over. We love answering y'all's questions. We try to comment on every comment that y'all leave us. Thank you for the amazing support for this pod. A little heads up, we will be
A
taking a
1 week
break
hiatus.
next week, for the holiday. Yeah, a 1 week hiatus, for the holiday. And so we wish you guys a happy Easter. If you're on spring break, happy spring break. And we'll be back the week after. I think that is
Hmm.
the 10th of April. Okay. We'll be back on the 10th of April, with our next episode, our seventh
Yay.
episode, lucky number 7. So we will be back in what,
Yeah.
2 weeks?
One
No,
week.
1 week.
Wait, two
2 weeks.
weeks
I can't do
technically,
the
because
math.
it'll be 1 week without an episode.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, we'll be back on April 10th. So please don't
Miss
miss
us
us
a
too
little
much, but
bit.
miss us,
We'll miss you. Yeah.
because we'll miss you. Yeah, just miss us a little bit. But hit us up if you have any questions or comments. We're here to support you
We
guys.
do.
We love you guys so much. Thank you so much for supporting me and
Seriously,
Paige
it
on the
means so much.
pod.
All of you
Big
guys, all of your
hearts,
comments, all
big
of the
hugs.
things you've reached out to us and said just to us one off and even together, it really means so much, and it makes this like fun to do.
Mhm. And we love being a part of your hump
We do.
day. We just wanted to say that. Humpity hump hump on the Potty Pod Pod. So we will see y'all on April 10th after this week. And happy hump day, happy Easter, and have a great rest of your day and week, guys. We love you so much.
Bye,
Besitos.
friends. Happy Easter if you
Bye,
celebrate.
guys. Love you.